Hello and welcome back to APCT. What I'd like to go through now is some of the resources I have put up for you. So the first one I want to look at is the semester planner. So this is essentially how you are going to pace your work. So week 1, that's this week, from the 6th of March to the 12th of March, you are going to be working through Learning Unit 1, the communication process. So you will go to your module manual, your module outline, which is this one. Please read the introduction, the using the manual outline. This is all very, very useful information. Okay, these are your module resources. Please note your prescribed book is Effective Business Communication in Organizations. There is a link to the ebook. Okay, these are the module outcomes. So by the end of the module, you should be able to apply knowledge of various communication theories in given organizational and academic contexts. Now, when we talk about organizational and academic contexts, we're talking about various situations. You need to be able to analyze various communication practices in given organizational and academic contexts. Once again, context means situations or scenarios. And compile professional documents for given organizational and academic contexts. So the main thing we are focusing on is, can you apply communication theories to different scenarios? Can you analyze communication practices in different scenarios? So can you analyze the way people communicate in certain scenarios? And then can you actually compile professional documents? So very, very useful. That is your assessment structure. These are your assessment preparation guidelines. So that's the assignment and the summative project. Please go through all of this. It's very important. Now, your module pacer. So that's what I have drawn up for you with your semester planner, is I have broken this down a little bit further. So this just tells you that you're going to be working through this learning unit in academic weeks 1 to 3. So I've broken that down a little bit further. So what you are going to be doing in learning unit in this week, this first academic week, you are going to be looking at learning unit 1, theme 1, the communication process. So what should you be able to do by the end of the week? You should be able to explain the nature of communication. You should be able to discuss the relationships between the components of the communication process using communication models, examples, and scenarios. And you need to be able to discuss the barriers to effective communication using examples and scenarios. So you are going to be looking specifically at textbook chapter 2. So that is the textbook reference for you. And you are also going to be using your VCLearn material. So if you just give me a moment, I will show you what we are talking about. Just going to share my screen. So if you go to learning units, learning unit 1, communication theory, this is what you will be looking at. These are your learning objectives. So theme 1, the communication process. This is a very good little exercise for you to do. Even if you don't write down the answers to these questions, please look at these questions, watch the video, and then see if you can just answer those questions. Even if you're not writing anything down, think about how comfortable you are with those questions. Then you click on theme 1. So we have activity 1.1.1, and you will briefly describe examples of communication that formed part of your individual activities over the last hour. Be sure to include the following details. Click on the link above the red tool to open the wiki tool. So you'll click on this and you will be able to start your wiki contribution. Okay. Be sure to group your responses under heading. Do not duplicate any of the responses already noticed. Carefully consider the different responses of your classmates to the questions above. As a group, formulate a 1 to 2 sentence definition. So this is a great way for you to work through your own understanding of communication. And it's really important that you start with that. Because if you just jump immediately into the textbook, you're going to read the definition of communication and it's going to be very dry and academic and very difficult to relate to the real world. What we are doing in this course is, of course, trying to relate everything back to this real world. And then we move on to defining communication and some things to think about. Once again, you don't have to actually answer these questions physically, but it's really good to go through these questions and see if you can answer them at least theoretically. So we've got some resources for you to go and look at, and you want to study the full section defining communication in chapter 2 of your textbook. So that is what you will focus on in chapter 2. So not the whole of chapter 2, defining communication in chapter 2. Then you need to look at your group's definition from activity 1.1.1 to the textbook. So compare your definition to the textbook. How many of the 7 major points did your definition include? And why do you think there are some things you left out? Why do you think that you included what you did? The 7 major points of communication will make a lot more sense once you have actually worked through defining communication in chapter 2. The communication components, that's where you start looking at the idea of communication models. And we look at the components. What is communication made up of? So in chapter 2 of your textbook, you will look at these sections: participant as sender, participant as receiver, message, medium, channel, feedback. So noise is going to be covered in detail in the next section of Learn. Okay, so some more questions for you to consider. And finally, barriers to effective communication. Once again, some questions for you to look at, some questions for you to really consider. We've got some great resources here for you to go through. And these are the sections of the chapter that you need to go through: noise, culture and work, background, perceptions, needs and goals, pressures. And once you have gone through all of that, then this is activity 1.1.2. So to open all of these activities, you simply click on this link above the red arrow. So for this, you have to watch these 2 videos and answer these questions. Okay, so back to, back to our semester planner. For this week, you are working on those themes. So theme 1, the communication process. So it's a very interactive module. You will go on to VCLearn, and we really direct you on what to focus on, what questions you should be thinking about, what sections of the textbook that you should be looking at. So you don't just have to go through chapter 2 in its entirety. There are certain sections of chapter 2 that you really want to focus on, and those are the 2 activities that you will work through during the week. Now, activity 1.1 is obviously a group activity. So in order for it to be successful, you guys really all do need to work on that and make a contribution to it. Activity 1.1.2 is very important because it really does take you through starting to think about this theory and how to apply the theory. It's starting you on your way to answering questions and to thinking critically about this theory. Okay, so that is this first week. Next week, we'll go through interpersonal communication, and we have our first collab on the 16th of March from 6 to 7 p.m. I will send you the link. It will be live, so you guys will join me on Blackboard Collaborate, and I will go through certain sections, and you will be able to interact, to ask questions in real time, to ask any questions that you want, specifically questions on Learning Unit 1, Theme 1, but any questions that you have in general about the course as well. Okay, so that is week 1, what you're going to be working on and how you're going to be working through it.